your martial arts movie podcast.
I threw that shit before I walked in the room.
Featuring drunken Thai boxer Will.
Too bad you will die.
The also drunken wrestler Mark.
I said I don't want trouble.
And drunken karate master Zero.
You've lost your balls.
And now,
Call. I know Kung Fu.
You know, baby.
Fists of Fail. I re-listened to our discussion on Wolf Warrior 1. And let's go back to this disclaimer. I still have not watched Wolf Warrior 1. And here we are today talking about Wolf Warrior 2.
That's okay. And if you're wondering why there's no full episode on it, because that's a Patreon-only episode, because it wasn't deemed worthy of an entire conversation.
Yes,
and the movie is just meh. The first one anyway. So
yeah. I mean, not like Wolf Warrior 2 is a new release. It came out like a couple years ago. But we're deciding to talk about it today. I don't know why. I mean, I don't feel like I needed to watch it. Yes, you did.
This is my pick.
Okay, fair. I didn't watch the first one, so I didn't know what I was going to get myself into.
You are absolutely not missing anything.
Yeah, it seems like that.
Yeah, they do flashbacks to a character who was in the first one, and everything you need to know, they do it in the flashback, so they kind of just tell you. So, yeah, you could just pick this one up and not be lost.
Yeah, so... well, I have a lot of complaints. This is gonna be a complaint-heavy episode.
All right, let's
from
go.
me, but at the same time, I don't know if it's gonna be a long one. I always say that. I always fucking say it. I'm gonna jinx it right now. It's gonna be
like a
one.
4-hour episode.
Oh my god, it's gonna be the longest.
We're talking about tanks for like 2 hours.
Yeah, although that would be very hypocritical, because it'd be hypocritical of me to be complaining about something for that long and make you guys bored to tears, because as I was watching this movie, I found that there was so much action, but I was so not engaged with anything that was happening on screen that I was basically feeling the same way. I was like, oh my god, this needs to end.
See, I'm the opposite. I was very engaged with the action. This was reminding me of maybe like a 90s, early 2000s American blockbuster movie. Like it felt very Bruckheimer, kind of Michael Bay-ish. It was like taking notes from that. And I didn't really have too much to complain about, because I thought it was stupidly entertaining.
Yeah, although, as the evolution of cinema, whatever you want to call it, has evolved. It's really hard for me to watch these movies, especially since we just spent the last 3 weeks talking about John Wick. So, yeah. I guess that's a little segue back to our Haya experiment. We took a couple weeks off to just like cover the John Wick movies. We had a little snafu with what was happening with Haya. So now we just have hayatv.com, not through Amazon now. So we should be able to view all the content. So expect a whole bunch of catch up that we're going to be doing, releasing some reviews on the more recent, newer released movies. But we decided to talk about Wolf Warrior 2. You want to talk about this one?
Yeah.
Why?
This movie was just fun for me. I could turn my brain off. I could revel in the over-the-top action.
Sure.
The story was so simple and to the point. Characters were so simple. It's a really nice comfort film. I guess, like an action comfort film, I guess you could say.
Well, I feel like you and I are going to be very opposed in this review.
Yeah,
but
that's fine.
I mean, there's one thing that we discussed in the first movie, which I bring up because it's Wu Jing starring and directing the film.
And writing.
And oh boy.
Yeah.
Okay, he had a lot of hands in different departments for this film. And I'm gonna try not to relate it back to the first movie, but it always makes me wonder, like, was the first movie like this as well? Because
not at all. No.
Not at all.
This is so much bigger.
Okay.
Huger. Yeah, the first movie feels kind of small in comparison now to what they were doing in this film.
Okay, maybe because you have a lens, you're able to appreciate this film comparatively.
Maybe. That might be it.
Without watching the first one, I thought this movie was very hard to sit through. Maybe not the worst. I commend it for the budget. There is quite a budget here, although obviously there are moments when it doesn't shine so well. But for the most part, there's a lot of practical stuff going on. There's a lot of effort, but at the same time, the action I find very annoyingly edited and very annoyingly, shot, I guess.
Okay. Well, before we get into the action, let's go into the story. Will, what's this movie about?
Oh boy, I was taking a sip of my tea. So I thought you would be able to talk about it. All right, I'm taking the reins here. Wolf Warrior 2. Wu Jing, our star, he in a fit of rage, he kills a guy who is just kind of pissing him off when he's trying to bring back the body of a comrade. I'm assuming this has something to do with the first movie.
Yeah. He's one of the guy that dies in the first movie. I guess he's bringing back the ashes and the uniform and whatnot to this family. Yes. I love the drama. While their house is being bulldozed by these evil landlords.
Man, this movie is so melodramatic at times, but yes, very over the top. You mentioned it before. So he kills the guy out of a fit of rage because you mentioned that he was a loose cannon soldier in the first movie, and that's actually the only semblance of that I got in this film. He didn't feel like a loose cannon so much.
Movie. He's not the same character at all. I mean, he's not a character. There are barely characters in this movie.
Yeah, they're just action.
They're just there. Yeah, they're there to move the story along.
Yeah. Okay. Anyways, so all that setup doesn't really matter. What matters is now he's in Africa. God, it just sounds so random when I say it like that.
It does, doesn't it? You know what's kind of funny? He's not in a country in Africa.
Right.
He's in Africa. They might have just said, let's go to China.
Well, no, because China's a country. It's the same as... Well, I mean, they don't disclose what country it is. They just say Africa. So, there's lines in the movie where it's we have to keep the diplomacy between, our countries together, because China's always been good to Africa. And I'm like, wait, which part of that?
Yeah, that's what I kept on saying.
It's like me saying I'm really good to Antarctica. It's like, wait, it's a continent. Anyways, so he is now in Africa because he's lost his ways. I mean, he's been released out of, after a couple years in prison. He's wandering through Africa. We get this really impressive action beat in the water, which we'll talk about. That's probably my favorite part of the movie. And then afterwards, it's just a matter of Wu Jing trying to survive, or rather take himself and a whole bunch of other civilians out to safety because there are rebels who are trying to take over Africa.
The government of Africa.
The government of the continent. Yeah. It makes sense. And yeah, I think that's really the gist of it. And then later on, it turns out there's a disease that's also spreading too. And I found that it kind of came out left field. I mean, it kind of is set up, and it just came out of nowhere at the end.
Yeah, that is a weird setup. I wonder if Wu Jing is trying to say that China's gonna cure AIDS.
Oh God. I wonder why. Yeah, and that's basically it. Am I missing any stories?
Yeah,
I think that's really it.
Yeah, so one of the side plots as well is, so I kind of thought that as well, that he's just kind of wandering through Africa. One of the reasons he's actually there is because he's searching for the owner of a bullet. and
that's right.
this is a very unique looking bullet, and it is the bullet that kills his wife, a character from the first movie.
Sure.
And he wants revenge. And so he's in Africa looking for possibly the owner of the bullet. And he runs into Frank Grillo, of all people, American actor. Frank Grillo, who is a mercenary that's hired by the African rebels to what are they doing? Oh, they're trying to find a Chinese scientist.
Yes.
Yeah. And then he gets like caught in the middle as well.
Yeah. I think after that, that's
after
all the
that,
details in the story.
Right. Then it just becomes war zone with a bit of fights here and there.
Yeah, you said in the first film, there's not a lot of fighting. There's Scott Adkins in the movie, and
there's only one like martial arts fight in the movie, really, and it's just with Scott Adkins at the end.
Yeah, and this one has some fighting in it, but it almost sounds like we kind of echo what we said in the first film, right? I there's the opening fight in the water. Mm-hmm. And then you have to fast forward all the way to the end where he fights Frank Grillo, and there's like some hand-to-hand stuff in between.
Yeah. There's a few things in between here and there, so I was like, I think we could talk about it. It's fine. I mean, He fights Heidi Moneymaker. He has a knife fight and a kind of grappling fight with another guy somewhere in the middle of that. Then there's those little skirmishes here and there.
Right.
So. Yeah, I don't know. I like the movie, so I wanted to talk about it.
Sure. Okay. We'll talk about. One thing that you said about the first movie is that, like, it's a little boring at times, and you didn't recommend it so much. Obviously this one's a step up, but you did say that the first movie, there are times where you laughed at it. You're laughing at the movie,
yeah.
And I found myself doing that.
Oh yeah, I was totally laughing at the movie so much, so much. I mean. Wu Jing having a drinking contest against Africans because we don't know what country they're from. They're just Africans. And he's like, I'm the best drinker. Yeah. And he's drinking, but also crying because he's like thinking of his deceased wife. I don't know. Stuff like that just made me
it's great.
Laugh.
Yeah. I mean, if you guys follow us on Instagram, you'll see that I actually posted a quick story about myself. I think watching that particular scene, and I was like, "There's no way they are drinking Chinese baijiu. They're just pounding that.
You absolutely should not. I mean, you can try.
You can't. You would die if you tried doing that.
The Africans' reaction to drinking baijiu is probably legit.
Yeah.
Wu Jing sipping it like a bottle. I do not believe that, but I have been in China, and people drink pretty hard there. Baijiu. They drink baijiu pretty hard there.
Jesus.
So I wouldn't be surprised if somebody could drink it like that.
That is the equivalent of Chinese moonshine. But for those of you who don't know what that is. But anyways, let's talk about the action on a general scale. It's, you found it enjoyable. I found it, I found every action scene way too long. It was so long to the point where my eyes started to glaze over. I had to rewatch certain scenes multiple times because of that.
Right. So, do you think it's because maybe you were expecting more of a martial arts movie and the action was, deterring from that?
I think it's multiple factors. None of the action. Okay. Like watching the behind the scenes, it kind of like solidified this theory of mine, which is like none of the action was filmed with like this one master shot that's just like long takes of choreography or like just general action in general. It's just like I noticed like there'll be a shot of Wu Jing like rolling towards Heidi Moneymaker or another actor in the movie with guns, and then it's like start and cut. Like it's like really the shot is in it of itself only 3 seconds. So it's not even really an issue with the editing. It's like that's just the way it was filmed. and the whole movie, all the action for the most part feels like just like cobbling together all these short action beats, and it makes me feel very uncomfortable with the action. I never feel like it doesn't feel like one seamless action scene. Sometimes it just feels like a cut, and I never felt fully engaged in it because it wasn't filmed like that,
right?
You know.
Well,
so,
I mean, I don't know. For me, I didn't mind. Didn't bother me. Because this is a war movie. As stupidly dumb as it is and popcorn entertaining as it is, it's a war film. He goes into war-torn Africa to save the Chinese people and essentially other Africans as well. And he is surrounded by gunfire and explosions and rockets and tanks. So it's a war movie first. So I don't mind the production that goes into that, and I don't mind any of the action scenes. Actually, I have a feeling that all the action stuff, not martial arts stuff, all the action stuff was filmed by Sam Hargrave. I mean, he is credited as the action director, but then there's also a second action director, and he's known for Extraction with what's his name? Chris Hemsworth, Mr. Thor, and he did a really nice stitched together one take in that movie. So I kind of have a feeling that he was involved in doing maybe the opening fight or possibly that very long chase sequence in the shantytown.
Yeah, I had a feeling that he probably had some involvement in the early fight. I guess. One opening that I had potentially for this episode was that this movie feels like the action was prematurely ejaculated. It's like you get like the best action scene right up front, then the rest like it didn't really ever hit that high. So yeah, it was it happened prematurely.
Right. Well, I mean, it hooks you in. It is probably one of the best underwater fights I've seen. Not even being a fake one take. It's just nicely done. It's very, very clear to see. Obviously, they're in a tank. They can't really do that in the ocean. But yeah, it's cool seeing him in the behind the scenes, just staying underwater, taking a breather every now and then to kind of recalibrate and do the shots.
You know, I was gonna say this is probably my second favorite fight scene underwater. The best fight scene underwater is still Top Secret.
I had a feeling you were going to say that. That is a really good fight scene as well. But, you know, there's a reason why people don't do fight scenes underwater, because that shit is exhausting.
Yes.
Jackie only did one. I think he only ever did one. And yeah, I can't even recall like any other fight scenes where the whole thing just really takes place in an underwater set, because it's just so annoying to constantly have the people go up and down. So I just got to commend that this one is pretty long, actually.
Yeah,
it's pretty long. It's a fake one take. It looks pretty good for a fake one take. You know where all the cuts are, but I think it's pretty seamless for what they do.
Yeah, and I was hoping the rest of the action in the movie would be along these lines, and it doesn't really hit that high for me. Not like you said, it's a war film. I'll give that the movie credit, but like I was expecting the gunplay to be a little bit more exciting than just shot. No, Wu Jing's firing towards camera left. There's nothing in camera left, and then reverse footage of people, getting bullets, like they're just being bullet ridden, and then they're on the floor now, and then back to Wu Jing running around shooting. For me, it got very samey,
Sure. I don't know. Wu Jing deflecting a rocket with a mattress.
Oh my god!
so it doesn't blow him and his party up. I thought that was fun, right? There's moments here and there. But
also, another thing I posted on Instagram.
The movie is so excessive. I know what you mean, though. It can get long. I understand what they're trying to do. They're trying to make it seem like he's fucked the whole time, because we don't really get a sense of how big that African rebel army is. We just know that they're constantly sending droves of men, and it never seems like there's any end to them. So I think in that aspect, I understand what they were trying to do, but I can see where it would get samey. But I don't know, like everything just kind of kept on changing. We get the scene where they're fighting in the streets and the buses are blowing up. It's very, I don't know. It's like, what is it like? Kind of like Black Hawk Downey, but much brighter, less gritty. Then we get the Shantytown car chase. I like that, actually. I like that a lot. And then, then we get just, I feel like they keep on at least giving us different scenarios. I'll agree with you that the gunplay is so secondary. Like it does, they're not doing anything unique with it, but at the same time, I don't want them to be. It's getting slightly tactical in that sort of John Wicky sort of way, where they're kind of tilting the guns every now and then. They're reloading by holding the gun in their calf and stuff like that. But I mean, I don't want to see him do, I don't want to see him do gun kata in an African war zone. I think that might be pushing it.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to keep on comparing every action movie with guns to John Wick. It's like, it's not fair. Like it doesn't have to be. But I mean, I've also read some reviews, that kind of defending the movie. I mean, I'm not gonna go too deep into this rabbit hole, but a lot of it's like, oh yeah, like this is very akin to like Rambo and stuff, which I'm like, I can kind of see that. Although like I still go back to those movies, watch like First Blood or Rambo or whatever, and I find a lot of those those action scenes are very dated. I feel like action has evolved.
They probably meant Rambo, which is actually Rambo 4.
Not to be confused with Rambo, the first Blood. The first Blood, which is the second of the series, but not to be confused with Rambo, which is like the fourth movie in the movie.
Well, no, that's what I mean.
Not to be confused with John Rambo, which is like the sixth movie in the series. So somewhere along those lines.
They're probably comparing it to Rambo, where he goes to, I think he's in Myanmar?
Myanmar's the fourth one.
Yeah. That one is... It's a fucking war zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's just obliterating people with bullets. Like, they're exploding. It's fucking too much.
You thought that was too much. I find the action in the movies a little too much. Every scene goes on way too long. I would have appreciated a...
if they cut 30 minutes?
More. I always say that. This movie's 2 hours long, and then I had to stop several times watching this because I was just losing my mind. I mean, I'm not trying to be like too critical. I know I'd
be critical. I like it, so you'll be a good polar opposites in my opinion.
Sure. I'm not trying to be mean about it. Actually, there are certain things about the movie I do like. I love the production. I love like that they have a budget, and I like the fact that they're trying for more. But like my critiques all boil down to the fact that like it tries to overload all these action scenes, but like the quality like only goes so high for me, at least. Like it's like a 9-minute action scene with like rapid editing and like really short, really like a staccato of like small action beats that like doesn't engage me. And I would have preferred a 3-minute action scene with really fucking good action. Like I would prefer that. And that if you add up all the action scenes that are only 3 minutes long, then maybe we could have taken out 30 minutes from the movie.
There's a few action moments where I'm like, this could go, and because you know what, they're trying to. So I kind of appreciate this too because Wu Jing's the director and the star. Yeah. And you can clearly see there's a lot of moments where he's doing some of the more serious stunts. He's running away from explosions. He's running away from a tank while the roof and the pillars around him are crumbling. He's carrying people while explosions are going on, and he's getting thrown into walls. Like, so I appreciate that. Yeah, I don't know. It didn't bother me for some reason. I was just completely fine with this because I was just mostly laughing at the movie, and it didn't really do anything too bad for me. So I think I just kind of appreciate it as a whole.
Okay, that's fair. I mean, maybe we can break down the actual movie in greater detail, and maybe we'll get to like why we like and don't like each action scene. Last bit of thought is that I don't dislike the movie that much. I just didn't find it super engaging, and the point I was trying to make before is like I had to watch this in chunks. I couldn't sit down and watch it all at once. I was at a certain point I just started. I wouldn't say I was nodding off, but like I just started looking at my wall. Like this move, like because there's my TV, and then to the right of it is the wall. And I start looking at that instead because it's like it's just too much at times. Right. And I love action movies, but when it just gets so much, it becomes so overwhelming, and it's like. But at the same time, then I wouldn't say that the intensity is not there, but it's not engaging me in any ways. I just started like zoning out.
Yeah, no, it's funny. I completely get that because we kind of say this all the time. Like it's good. Have action. Yeah. Sometimes have a lot of action. Sometimes it's fun when it's excessive action.
Yeah.
But there's a point where you're losing interest because are things changing? How's the pacing? Are we getting a different location? Are we getting a different visual? If you're not doing that, there's only so much attention you can hold. Mm-hmm. And so many action fans sometimes are like, I don't care, I just want more. But it's like, sure, have fun watching those clips. Yeah, like out of context. But like when you're sitting down on a movie, I want the entire experience to be engaging as much as possible. I don't want to zone out because we're seeing the same background and we're seeing the same people just fire back and forth. Something like that. So I understand what you mean. Yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely got numb after a certain point. I was like, oh my God, my eyes are just glazing over. But I'm clearly wrong because this was the highest grossing Chinese film for a while.
Oh man. So I wanted to bring that up too. Did Wu Jing sell his soul to the devil or Winnie the Pooh or whoever you want to say, because he's involved in all like the top grossing Chinese like blockbusters almost. The Battle of Lake Changjin, which is the highest grossing one now. I completely forgot he's starring in that.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Then it's Wolf Warrior 2. Then it's like, comedy. Then it's animated film. Then it's Wandering Earth. He's in that as well. And then a few other ones. Wandering Earth 2. It's like, Jesus Christ. If
you know that he's in it, it's probably because the government willed it. I will say, I guess now's a better time than ever to go into the action segment. But one last piece I was going to say is that out of all the Chinese propaganda films, I mean, this one still feels like at random times, but for the most part, it's subtly hidden. It's not China Salesman.
Yeah, I was going to say, until the very end of the movie, I was like, whoa, they're not bonking us over the head with the propaganda. It almost seems like they don't care that they're trying to promote the Chinese government. They're just like, okay, we're here. We're trying to do good. Mm-hmm. And that's it. It's until the end of the movie.
Right.
But yeah, so you want to go into the action?
Yeah, let's do this. So, okay, well, let's do our spiel first. If you guys want to listen to our whole action breakdown where we talk about everything in the movie that we can possibly talk about without going longer than the movie itself, hopefully, you can subscribe to us on Patreon. Just $1 a month is the current deal if you want to, just listen to the whole discussion. We break out all the action, all the story, including spoilers, why we love and don't love certain things about the action. But for $3 a month, you can listen to our quick jabs where we discuss other movies that didn't make the cut as a full episode, but they themselves, we want to give them some time. We'll talk about them for like a couple minutes, But yeah, just more content for you guys.
Yeah.
So I mean, just follow us.
Yeah, and if you want to know exactly what we had thought about, well, mostly what I thought about Wolf Warrior, and then Will's reaction trying to figure out the trailer, then yeah, consider subscribing.
Yeah. Oh boy, but let's talk about Wolf Warrior 2, and how Wu Jing ultimately finds solution at the end by waving the big Chinese flag. Hey guys, thanks for listening to the podcast. We're at the point where we give our recommendations, but there's a whole wealth of audio you would be listening to here if you follow us on Patreon. There you can listen to the entire episode, including an exclusive action breakdown of the fights in the movie. And now on to our final thoughts.
So is that Wolf Warrior 2, Will? Is that the end?
That's Wolf Warrior 2.
Hey, we made it. You know, we talked so fucking long about this movie.
We did.
I
always
thought
say
we were gonna skip all the action stuff, but then you actually started going into it, and I was like, all right, well, I guess I gotta back you up there.
Well, you like this movie, so I was like, all right, let me do some due diligence.
Sure.
Help you out there.
I appreciate it. I know you weren't crazy about this movie.
No, I wasn't.
I like this movie as just, kind of like action junk food. I know it's not good for you.
Oh.
I know it's not the best, but for some reason, it satisfied some just weird action itch where it was satisfactory.
Okay. Well, this movie is like junk food because it gave me diarrhea. So, I did not enjoy this particular film. And I don't know. I do have my guilty pleasures with action films, but it doesn't always have to hit the check boxes in terms of like, oh well, all the fight scenes have to be a specific way. All the it has to be edited perfectly. It has to be one long bouts of choreography. It has to.
I mean, it sounds like
clear.
That's what you want, though, if you were to listen to the Patreon section.
Yes, but I think the problem with this movie for me is like the action actually becomes too long. It's too long. Think about like the Raid 2, right? I've said that like those action scenes are actually way too long, and they get exhausting. Yeah. But the reason why you're engaged is because like each action scene is so innovative and so like intense. It keeps the intensity, everything that just like this movie, but like it's also has the extra bonuses of like being well edited, being long choreography. So like, but this movie's just like long, like action scenes will be like 10 minutes long. And it's like, oh my God, I need these to end. Like it doesn't hit any of the check boxes and it's long. So I'm like, I just want this to end.
Well, it hit all the check boxes for me because a lot of action scenes start with Wu Jing bursting through a wall, bursting through something. And I don't know if I could want anything else from him other than that. So if they do a Wolf Warrior 3, if he does not fucking burst through a wall in a tank, in a vehicle, or with his fucking, I don't know, sweaty soccer-playing body, I will be greatly disappointed.
Yeah, he's got to come out like dressed in all in red, like this big-ass glass vase, be like, oh yeah! That's great. All right. I don't really recommend the movie, unfortunately. I know you like the film. I really do like the opening fight scene. It doesn't have to be a real winner. Like I just like the fact that like it was cobbled to look like one, and it's impressive. It's unique. It's creative, and the rest of the movie kind of like is a drag for me. So I mean, I was laughing at times, but it wasn't even there enough. It wasn't so bad it's good consistently enough for me.
Right.
So yeah.
But
it seems like you
liked it. I recommend it. It's dumb fun. It's a great afternoon watch if you want some stupid action movie that actually has production value. So
yes,
you can
can
see like real explosions. You can see the action or action star and director really in it a few times. So yeah, watch it.
Sure.
Over Wolf Warrior 1, hands down. Wolf Warrior 1 is just like snooze fest for me. So yeah, maybe because I have context, but yeah, I didn't think this was bad. So
right.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, somewhere in between is the answer. So maybe not. I don't know. Whoever you agree with, go watch it. Maybe instead we'll watch China's other top-grossing films, all starring Wu Jing.
Oh God. Well, at least this movie did not have the CGI fucking wolves that he fought in Wolf Warrior 1. They brought in real no, not wolves. They brought in sled dogs at the end. So at least I don't know. You got to give them that. But for Wolf Warrior 3, we need CGI wolves again.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. I'll totally take that.